everybody. Good afternoon. The first thing that comes up, I want to say, is good morning, because typically we're a morning group, but now we're in the afternoons. So welcome to MOPS Thursday. Woohoo! It's crazy how fast 2 weeks can go, and slow all at the same time. But I'm just gonna go ahead and get started here. I was just gonna share a fun little picture of what me and my kiddos have been doing recently. So let's see if I can hit the right button here. Nope, let's go to the next slide. There we go. We have been frequenting the pumpkin patch a whole bunch. So I don't know if you have all been to Bob's Pumpkin Farm and Vegetable Stand in Half Moon Bay, but it's my favorite pumpkin patch because there's no train rides, and there's no blow-ups, and there's no corn mazes to get lost in. And it's just a big open field for your kids to run free, and it's the best. They have like a little animal section where you can see the animals. You don't pet them, you just look at them, which is up my alley as well. And then there's like a giant haystack for them just to run on and jump off of. So it's like a win-win in my book, because I do love the pony rides. I do love all that, but I don't want to do it every time. So Half Moon Bay, it's about a 30-minute drive from here. It's beautiful. It's right across from the beach. You could even take a picnic lunch for afterwards. But it is one of our favorites, and we've already gone twice in the past 2 weeks because you just need some fresh air right now and to run around wild. So if you need a pumpkin patch, I highly recommend that one. And then we're going to do a fun little, let's see if I can go to the next slide. Little game today that I would love for you to add in the chat. Christina got this idea from Jen Hatmaker. Christina's over there in the corner. She says hello to everybody. And she thought it'd be fun. What is a movie that maybe won a bunch of awards, or everyone else loved and had a killer cast, or maybe had a huge impact on everyone around? And you watched it, of course, because what else are you going to do if everyone's recommending it? But you would never, ever want to see it again. So what is that for you? Put that in the chat, and I'll just share mine. And I'm not recommending this movie, obviously, because it's something I never want to watch again. But Bird Box with Sandra Bullock, I don't know if any of you watched that, but I felt so anxious and so stressed out the whole entire time, because she was like keeping those two kids protected with their little blindfolds on, and it was just the zombies and the weird apocalypse things happening. Like, it was terrible. And Chris, my husband's family, all recommended it. They all loved it. We were all there for Thanksgiving to watch it, and I'm like, no, that was terrible. If that was the only movie ever on, again, I would not watch it because my anxiety levels were too high. So put in the chat here. I'm going to pull up my chat box so I can see what everybody's saying. You know what? Maybe my computer's not going to pull up the chat. Christina, anybody have any? Castaway and what?
Waterworld.
Waterworld.
Waterworld that went anywhere.
I haven't seen those. I'm not like a huge movie watcher. So when someone recommends a movie to me, I'm like, oh, I for sure need to see that. No, don't watch Bird Box. It really is not worth the time and the effort. Castaway came up again. That's a good one. So yeah, just keep sharing those. It is fun to read what people think. And remember, we're going to do another giveaway this week. So if you're commenting in the chat, we'll put your name in the drawing and have a fun little prize for you. But on a more serious note, we'll transition. We just want to note that October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. And while at MOPS, we often celebrate all of the pregnancies, our newest MOPS kids. Pregnancy and infant loss are far more common than we discuss. So as the heartache that surrounds these losses and the heartache that surrounds these losses, it runs deep. So if you're willing, and if you would like to share with us, if you have babies that you hold in your heart but no longer in your arms, we are here for you today. If you would like to give them remembrance as we watch a short little video on pregnancy and infant loss, we would feel honored to remember them with you. So drop in the chat if you know that you lost a baby boy for a blue heart, a baby girl would be a purple heart, and then a yellow maybe you didn't know, but God knows. If you would like to share that with us, we would really be honored to remember those babies with you. And I'm just going to play this video as I read a quote from, I always talk about Coffee and Crumbs, but they're my favorite. So I'm just going to read this little blurb that they pulled out of one of their essays the other day. I'd love to pass out warm socks to every woman in the midst of numbers that won't double, or tests that won't tell her what she's pleading to hear. I would hand out wool and fleece and worn cotton with those little sticky things on the soles, and I would say this: you are not bad math. You are not the 9 weeks you can't get past, or the 3 years you've been trying, or the twins you never got to meet, or the one-child family you never wanted to be. You might have terrible math, but you are not the terrible math. You are a story. You are a work in progress. You are the way to feeling different. you are on the way to feeling different. In 2 months or 2 years or 2 decades, you will wake up to yourself again. Keep reading. And I just love that. I sent that to one of my best friends that was having a couple miscarriages last year, and then my sister-in-law this past year that was also going through miscarriages. And gosh, it just chokes me up because that's just such a hard thing to go through. And we just want you to know that you're not alone and we're here for you. And we're really happy to remember those babies with you. So I'm just going to say a little short prayer. Thank you for everyone that has maybe shared in the chat those little hearts, the blue and the pink. Sandy, I see your blue heart there. And let's just do a little prayer for all of you mamas that are holding on to that grief this month. So dear Lord, thank you so much for this community of moms that we can link arms with and just share our pain with and share our joys with, Lord. But I just want to pray for all these mamas that are not bad math, but have bad math, Lord, that you are with them, that you're covering them with your love this month, that you're giving them your peace, and that you are just reminding them that we are here for them if they ever want to open up and talk about what happened or what was going on in their situation. Lord, I love all these moms in this group so much, and it breaks my heart when something happens to each and every one of them. So just thank you for our community. Thank you for the love you pour onto us. And I just pray that we can all remember each of these sweet babies, say their names if they have a name, Lord, and that you just remind all these moms that we're here to support them. Amen. That always, I'll be fine. But my sister-in-law, who I shared last time when we were on Zoom, she had her baby. She had her little rainbow baby a couple weeks ago. So it was really fun to go and meet her because they had just a whole long journey to get there. So it was really special to hold her and get to see her with my kiddos. I loved it. It was really fun. So thank you for sharing with us, everybody, and for remembering with us. And I'm going to transition to our speaker. She's just sitting across the hall from us. We're probably just going to keep looking at each other the whole time. So I'm going to bring you on screen just so you know if I hit this, both of us, there we go. Woohoo. So this is Andrea Coley, and she will be sharing on the topic of the unlikely pairing of complaint and trust. So you might remember her face. She was with us back for Christmas when we were all in person. It seems like so long ago. And she is with a grounded biblical perspective and a background in improv comedy. Andrea brings real truth and real funny. So we just want to welcome Andrea back, and I'm just going to put her on the screen now.
Well, thank you so much. It's so great to be back. And I have to say, just a huge shout out to your leaders who have been so creative and tenacious. On the way in, they were telling me about the plant that's over there behind Caitlin. I don't know if they've talked to you about this plant, but it comes every time, and there it is. And they've had to cart it back and forth. And just the love and the creativity to keep going and keep meeting. I applaud that. And just for you carving out space. I know some of you are locked in your bedroom right now. Some of you are trying to sneak this in between, kids maybe playing out in the backyard. Some of you might be locked in your bathroom, and we uphold that. And we hope you don't get little fingers under the door like they do. But it is really great to be back with you. To get started with our time, and I know our time is short, I want you to be thinking about unlikely pairs. Not pears like the fruit, but two things that don't seem like they go together, but maybe they do kind of go together. I brought a couple examples just to get you thinking. So here's the first one, and this pairing is strawberries and balsamic vinegar. That seems like a weird pairing to me, but then I think, I guess I've had a salad that does have strawberries on it, and it has balsamic. So why don't you add in the chat if you think this is a good combination or you've had it and you like it. Give a thumbs up or say yes or whatever. I'm not going to sample it right now because you guys did not come here to watch or listen to me eat. So I'm not going to do that. Okay, here's another one. This is the old cheese and apples. I think I like this okay. Where I don't think I can go is the slice of cheese on a piece of apple pie. I've heard of that before. It just seems very weird, but I don't know. Again, put it in the chat if you can attest to apples and cheese being good together. I guess it's like the sweet and the cheesy. I don't know. Is that a category? Okay, last one. This one seems a little bit weird, but I actually do like this. And that is chocolate dipped potato chips. This is like your two favorite vices all in one salty sweet snack. If you haven't tried this yet, I recommend it. It's kind of the same as, like a pretzel dipped in chocolate, or some of you I know you do put M&Ms in your popcorn, or around this time of year, candy corn in your popcorn. I think that's a thing. So put in the chat if your vote is for the sweet and salty combo of the potato chips and the chocolate. Now, as much as I would like to tell you that today is all about food and get your mouth watering and all that, it's not. But it is, like I said, about this idea of two things that don't seem like they go together, but they actually do go together. And I'm going to bring it up today because in our little bit of time that we have together, I want to introduce you to two different phrases, kind of two mindsets that they don't seem to go together. But if we can embrace putting them together, I think that it will actually deepen our relationship with Jesus. And I think that if we can figure out how to put them together, it might actually free us up in the way that we communicate with God. The phrase that these two phrases that go together are something that we're going to look at in a conversation that Jesus has right before he raised Lazarus from the dead. Now, some of you might know this story. I know I've read it many times, and I'm going to kind of explain it to you for those that might not be as familiar. But as many times as I've read it, I never noticed this little subtle bit of conversation that I think has so much to teach us about today. So we read about these two sisters named Mary and Martha, and maybe to some of you those names are familiar. These are the two who Jesus came to their house, and Mary sat at Jesus's feet. And Martha is busy like serving and in the kitchen and doing all the things that were typical that would be expected of her as the homeowner. And then she begins to complain to Jesus that Mary's not helping. And then if you know the story, you know that what happens is Jesus affirms Mary, the one sitting at his feet doing nothing. And what happens is Martha goes forever down in history as being a busybody, the woman who didn't have time for Jesus. And so many sermons have become about like, don't be a Martha, be a Mary. Well, I think Martha kind of gets a bad rap. I mean, if I'm honest, because if I was labeled for centuries by one thing I did when I was really stressed out, that would be terrible. I mean, wouldn't you hate that? Just this week, like I was super tired. I finally got all my stuff done. I sat down to veg out on the couch and watch TV. And my daughter wanted to sing a song for me. And I was like, no, I don't have time for your song right now. I'm watching TV. That's how much I suck. So if that was what I went down in history as like the kind of person I was, it does not seem fair. So for any of you who have felt like Martha kind of gets a bad rap, maybe she has a little more to offer, I think you're going to really like today. And if that's you, just write like Martha in the chat, because let's celebrate Martha. And I think by the end of our time together, you will also have a new appreciation for her. Because what we're going to see is that it's Martha who teaches us about this unlikely pair of phrases that just might change how we process things with God. So to set up this story, what has just happened is that their brother Lazarus, who was probably younger than them, and we'll get to the passage here. You see it there. He has died, and they reached out to send a message to Jesus to ask him to come because he was sick, because Lazarus was sick, and Jesus doesn't come right away, and Lazarus died. And then finally, Jesus comes. And so here's what happens in John 11, starting in verse 20. We'll put it up. It says, when Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, and Mary stayed home. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now, God will give you whatever you ask. Okay, that was Mary's conversation. Then she goes and that was Martha's conversation. And then she goes and gets Mary and is like, Jesus is here. So now Mary comes out, and here's her conversation in verse 32. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Okay, so first, here's what I want us to notice, that both of these women, they express their grief. They verbalize their sadness. They express their disappointment. Jesus, had you been here, this would not have happened. In other words, underneath that text is this subtext of, why didn't you come sooner? Why weren't you here? I'm disappointed. Maybe even, I'm disappointed in you, Jesus. They were expressing the loss that they had experienced. You know, I want to just pause there for a second because I think that we can really begin to understand the loss that they were talking about. Even if it's not the same situation, I think that all of us have experienced some sort of loss over these last 6-7 months, however long we've been in this. You've got kids at home that are distance learning. They've lost kind of their school, their community that way. You've lost some of your freedom because maybe you're a little bit more tied to having to help them. We've lost the ability to just go out whenever we want. Maybe go out to dinner or maybe to a park, whether that's like a theme park like Disneyland being closed here, or just a regular park, like going to a regular park. And how else are you supposed to get all their energy out? So it's so frustrating. Some of you have experienced your job being affected because of this. And just the fact that we've lost the security of just being out in a crowd, like how we used to feel really safe doing that. I'll tell you one thing that I feel that I've lost is my privacy. I feel like I am never alone. My kids are always home. And I have one who can drive. So like she has no excuse. Like I just send her on errands just to like have the house a little bit to myself. Again, I told you that I'm not the greatest, but on top of all that, many of you have experienced things during this season or before this that maybe have nothing to do with COVID. We just spent a few minutes kind of just remembering and leaning into some of our sadness for those who have had a miscarriage or who have lost a child. And it can be heavy. It is heavy. And it's a heavy season right now. And when you experience loss, there is a grieving that happens. And so in one way or another, all of us have had some sort of grief. So here's my question. Have you expressed that grief to God? Have you gone to that deep and painful place with God? I think some of us try so hard to not be a complainer, but I kind of wonder if God can handle our complaints. And maybe it can be really healthy to complain. You know, in the Jewish tradition, they actually have a practice of lament that holds a very high value. And it is very intentionally and actively identifying your loss and expressing your sadness and telling God that you're disappointed. In that video we saw a few minutes ago, I noticed that it had the word lament. It is holding that sadness. There's a whole book about it in the Bible. It's called Lamentations, Lamentations. But for most of us, we're busy kind of like biting our tongue, trying to stay positive because it just feels so negative. And so we try to stay positive. And I get that. On the Enneagram, I'm a 7. So 7s love everything positive. Nothing will kill our optimism. We can see the bright side of everything. It's very hard to go to that place of grief and pain. But the truth is that the heaviness that we hold, it needs to be expressed. And in fact, when we express it, it can deepen our relationship with God. I think some of you this afternoon maybe need to hear that it is okay to complain to God. It is okay to express your sadness and be honest about your disappointment. And in fact, that can be very, very healthy. And right there is what we see both Mary and Martha do. They come right to Jesus and right away they express their sadness. They voice their complaint. Lord, had you been here, my brother would not have died. But what Martha does, what I want us to notice, is that she goes on to couple that complaint with an expression of trust. Right after she says that, she says, but even now, God will give you whatever you ask. There's that expression of trust, that verbalization of her faith. And that right there is the unlikely pairing that can deepen your relationship with God, voicing the complaint and then also voicing your trust and knowing that even though those seem like they would clash, they actually go really well together. Some of you, it's probably kind of natural and easy for you to express trust. You're just a person where it's just easy to believe and have faith. And so maybe for you, expressing disappointment or pain feels like kind of wrong. Others of you, you can lament all day, like you have no problem looking on the not so bright side of things. But my question is, do you ever get to the other half of that where you also express trust in your loss, in your lament, even in your complaint? How is it that you can also try to express trust at whatever level that is? I want to invite you to be thinking about both of those phrases and how you can incorporate those into your life, into your conversation with God. But one more quick thing that I want to point out that I think might be really helpful for some of you. Even when your trust feels really small, expressing it to God, I think, makes a difference. I skipped this little part of the rest of the conversation that Martha had with Jesus. And so I want to show you that now so that you see what I'm talking about. So right after she says, Lord, if you had been here, he wouldn't have died. But even now, whatever you ask, I know God will give you. Right after that, I want to look at verse 23. This is the rest of her conversation. So then Jesus replies to her and says, your brother will rise again. And Martha answered, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die, and whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? Yes, Lord, she replied. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who has come into the world. Okay, so what is happening here is that when Martha expresses her trust, it's not really trust that Jesus is going to physically actually bring Lazarus back to life. What she's expressing is more a trust like, I trust you. I know that ultimately you will restore all things in heaven. And then Jesus replies to her and says, I am life. I am the resurrection. And again, she says, yes, I believe you. But here's how we know that she didn't really think of it as a literal bringing Lazarus back from the dead, which is what Jesus did. Because a little while later, when Jesus goes to open the tomb, it's Martha who's the one that's like, oh, no, you don't want to open that. He's been in there 4 days. He stinketh. That's the King James Version. He stinketh, favorite verse in the Bible. So, we see right there that is not at all what she was imagining. When she expressed her faith, her trust, it wasn't so big as what Jesus really delivered on. But Jesus, he takes that little bit of trust that she has, and he does so much more than she's expecting. So here's what I want you to hear, that Jesus can do so much more than you can ever imagine. So even the smallest little expression of trust, he takes it, I believe that he honors it, and he builds on that little nugget of trust, like the mustard seed of faith, if you've heard that phrase. And he builds on it in ways that can amaze you and can build your faith so that the next time when you also express your disappointment and your complaint, and then you express some trust, it will be stronger trust. It will be deeper faith. So whatever you have today, this afternoon, this week, this month, this year, whatever heaviness of loss and sadness you are holding, can I encourage you to express it? And even if you feel like I should be over it by now, it doesn't matter what you should be. If you are still feeling it, let God in to that. Express it. And then at the same time, dig into your faith, whatever it looks like. Dig into it so that you can declare your trust even when it feels like it's not enough. I want to encourage you as you go this week and in the months coming up that you would incorporate these two phrases these two practices into your conversations with God this week. Before we switch over to some time for Q&A, can I just pray for you guys as we incorporate what Martha has to teach us? Let's pray. Jesus, you are so compassionate. You are so gracious in the way that you hold what we bring to you. God, I am thankful for this woman, Martha, who used her home to serve your ministry, who expressed trust in you, who I'm sure was a devoted follower of yours, and that she could so freely in her relationship with you express her lament and also so honestly express that she trusts you even though. And Jesus, the fact that you did so much more than she could ever imagine. And so I ask God that you would free us up, the women that are listening in here, that you would free us all up to be honest about our complaint and to be faithful when it comes to trust. And as we do that, God, that you would meet us in deep ways and that you would let us know your heart for us even more. In Jesus' name, amen.
That was so good. I'm like scribbling my little notes on my little.
Oh, nice.
But I love, where did I even just put it? Just voicing your complaint and then voicing your trust. I feel like in my life right now, I'm missing that voicing my trust piece. Like I'm very good at voicing my complaint. I'm sure my husband.
Right. So you were the one that's like, I got the complaints down. It's the other half.
I'm totally muted. Sorry, guys.
Oh,
I was
no,
just
start
saying,
over.
What I loved was the voicing complaint and then voicing your trust. I feel like I'm lacking in the voicing of my trust component. And I was telling Andrea just now when I was muted that my husband can probably attest to that. I'm very good at complaining of what's going wrong right now.
Yes, those closest to, if you're not sure if you're better at lamenting or trusting, just ask people around you. They'll be able to tell you. No problem.
So that was good. And then the other thing you said about trust that I loved is that he will build on that little nugget of trust. So even if you just express something small where you can start, like he's going to strengthen and deepen that, which I really am missing and lacking right now. So I really loved that. I want to definitely listen again and catch everything I missed.
Yeah, I think so often we feel like we don't have enough of the trust, or we feel like we compare ourselves to other people we know who have an amazing amount of faith. They might have a spiritual gift of faith. And we think, well, I don't trust that big, so mine must not count for anything. But yeah, I really think that we see that in the story, that God will take it and make it bigger, right? Why would he not?
I like it. I love it so much. Does anybody have questions? Put them in the chat. I think my chat's finally coming through a little bit. So if anybody has anything they want to ask while she's on, please do. Someone said, love that building on the nugget. That's good. Kate's not loud. I'm sorry. So yeah, we'll give it a couple seconds here. I know we have a little bit of a delay to see if there's any questions.
Yeah, no, it's no problem. It's definitely, I think one of the things, as the women go, as you go into your groups, hopefully kind of being able to help each other kind of recall times when you have been able to express, or when, what is the situation right now that's on your heart. I think that, I'm guessing most of us kind of can name what that thing is. It doesn't take that long, especially if it's real close to the surface.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't see any questions either. So we will, thank you again. That was just so fun. I know we're like, we'll just bring her back every week and just change the topic. It'll be perfect.
No, it was great to be here with you guys. I'm so happy that you're continuing in community and continuing to, just being committed to be together, be the church together. It's huge.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much again. I'm going to just end with our announcements before we go into our breakout group. So let me see if I can get this going. Okay. Woohoo. Trunk or treat. You guys, this has been a whole process because, COVID and things are making everything complicated. So I just need to give the most giant shout out to Christina because she has jumped through hoops upon hoops on fire for us to have this happen. So we are calling it now a Halloween decoration display because that worked better for the the county to approve us. So totally fine. We'll do that. We'll call it that. And we're going to just have everybody wait in their cars until we come and get you to walk through the displays. So it is happening. It is on. We are excited. I know my kids are really looking forward to it. And there are still spots available. So we will send that link out again on Facebook and through an email today. What was that? Oh, she's going to put it in the chat. Christina will put it in the chat. So if you are still thinking about it and wondering if you should join, you should. It'll be very safe, very kid friendly. So we hope you can join. We're really looking forward to it. There's going to be some great trunks. We're actually going to feel like we're at Disneyland because there's a few really great Disney themes coming to you. So sign up if you haven't done that already. And one more reminder, if you do have the little tiny preschoolers at home, CPC and CETA are going to be mailing out crafts and activities for your kiddos to do during this time. So if you would like to sign up for that, please let us know and they will just mail you home a little packet, which is so fabulous. And you can do that during our little live section to try to keep them a little busy. I hope that's working for most of you. We appreciate the effort and everybody trying to keep them busy so you can have a little mom moment. But with that, we're just going to jump into our discussion groups on Zoom. Your discussion group leaders have all the questions that go along with the talk today. So I hope everyone enjoys their time together and that you have a great rest of your Thursday. We'll see you again here in, I think, 2 weeks, right? We're meeting in 2 weeks. I'll have to check the date and we'll put that in there. But yeah, have a good one, everybody. Bye. Let me go to...